Hello, guys. Hi, I'm May Sim, and if you just joined us, just come in here and just post something here. Let us know if you can see us, and just say hi if you can see what we are saying here. Okay, just go ahead and post a comment, and I'm just putting the first one here. Because I'm just trying to make sure that we are live. We're using StreamYard for the very first time. Hello. Okay, I see Yun Ting has said hi. Okay, hey guys. So we're just going to wait a couple of minutes for people to come in. And of course, as you can see, I have 3 guests here. Hi, Gordon. I see Jeremy is also here. This is awesome. And hi, Brandon. Good to see you again. And you can see some of your classmates are here with me also. Yeah, awesome. Right. Hi, James. Awesome. Hi, Sharon. Oh, look, it must be your friend, Joan.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Okay, good. As we're getting a bit of an audience coming in. So as we all know, I am about to do a very mega webinar on the 19th of January. I know lots of people have been texting me, hey May, when's your next webinar going to be? And it is definitely here. I'm spending all my days very busy doing calculations now. But of course, today is very important because today is our huddles. So some of you have seen the posters that have gone out. I'm doing 3 huddles leading up to the webinar. So the first one is going to be more like entrepreneur based. So I've got 3 amazing business owners here with me today. And of course, the second and the third huddles are going to cover quite different topics. So it's awesome. I can see like there's about 20 something people, and I know people will just come streaming in after. So along the way, as I'm speaking with my guests, if they say something that's interesting, or you want them to elaborate, or you want to get like more examples, please feel free to put on the comments. So we are definitely seeing the comments, and if you have questions, just put it to them so that we'll be able to answer them on the spot. All right, so let's get started. And as you all know, my name is May Sim. I'm a professional astrologer, and I've been quite busy in the last 1 to 2 years putting up webinars that's warning people about what's happening. And we are telling people about how to pivot from the earth era into the air era. And I know that quite a lot of you who are watching right now, you could be a business owner, you could be a freelancer, and you may be somebody who is maybe thinking about a business idea and how to transit. So especially as the business climate has changed very, very much. So I want to introduce my guests, and I'm going to begin first with Mr. Derrick Chew. He's the director of Sidelines Entertainment, and in the past 1 year, I've been totally amazed by the kind of projects that he's been putting up, bringing very traditional theatre into a completely online space. And I think quite many of you may have seen some of the marketing that has gone out on all his virtual escape rooms. So if you join me to sort of welcome Derrick. Okay, so thank you, Derrick, for being here. I also want to introduce Joan. Joan has many, many years of experience in events. And in fact, Joan was just sharing with us just now that this is her very, very first time in front of the camera, because Joan is very used to running for everything from small to medium to large scale events. And she's always the person in the background. So it's like, so today Joan's going to be with us, and she will share with us on 2 very different industries, a bit on entrepreneurship, events, but also her new foray into the coaching space. So we can have a chat about that also. And last but not least, I want to introduce Joel Hansen Li. He's a professional. Well, officially he's called a videographer, but as you will hear today, you will see that Joel has a wide range of skills beyond just video production, but also more in presenting stories and the value add in video form. And as many of you know, Joel Hansen Li also happens to be my husband. So some of you have been following me on my webinars. You may have heard me mention my husband a couple of times, and so Mr. Li is in the house today. Right. So thank you to my guests. And guys, so if you're watching this, like I said, if you have questions, now that you know which industries my guests are in, please feel free to sort of have your questions put to my guests. So let's get started. And I want to ask my 3 guests, right? I mean, let's start with the obvious topic, COVID. All right. So obviously last year, a lot of projects got held up. I think a lot of plans went awry. So can I just get each of you to sort of share, like briefly, what was the initial reaction from the industry that you're in? Like, how did people react, or what were the difficulties that they faced? So maybe can we start with, how about Joan? You're in events, and how did the industry react?
Well, I think everyone knew that COVID has been very brutal to the event industry. Like literally, I still remember my first event cancellation came on Chinese New Year Day 3 last year. So we received our first bad news, and after that it was a string of cancellations, and very slowly the entire event industry just shut down. It came to a standstill literally. Yeah, so I think back then we were doing a lot of firefighting for our clients. You see, so be it the big events or small events, physical events in general, overseas events, right? We had to really mitigate losses, not just for ourselves, but also for our clients, for the suppliers that we work with, the freelancers that we work with. Yeah, it was a lot of contract negotiation. What could be postponed? What needs to be cancelled? And what kind of credits and money can we get back? Yeah.
And was it very difficult to decide like which events were just postponed or which ones were just outright cancelled?
Yeah, and it was quite funny because I think initially, everyone was like, yeah, this will blow over in a couple of months. We can just continue with life during second half of the year. But COVID had other plans. In fact, COVID had expansion plans. You get what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we couldn't. Yeah. So whatever it could. For those that could go virtual, for those that could change to a virtual event immediately, we really scrambled to put everything together within whatever short period of time we had. So it was an intense period, I would say.
Yeah. And maybe we'll hear from the other industries too, and then we'll start getting to some of what did they do as a reaction. So Derrick, how about the theatre industry? I mean, technically you're kind of events also, just a specific kind of events, right? What happened to your industry?
No, completely agree with Joan. I think we face the same thing. I think the arts industry, not just theatre but music and dance and every live performance, performers in the industry have really suffered greatly because we now cannot do live events. So I remember, similar to Joan, I was in Japan during Chinese New Year. So thank God that was my last trip of a very long time. I was in Japan during Chinese New Year, and I received this news of COVID and stuff like that. And very short after, because in February I was supposed to do a school production, so a school theater a theater production for schools, right? So schools are all going to come to the theater, all fully booked, sold out. We did all the tickets and everything else, and then COVID hit, and teachers start emailing. It's like, what are the plans and everything else, and very quickly everything just got cancelled, as we all know. So it is a really tough time for the industry, especially for an art form that really thrives on live interaction. I think that is something that I realized my entire industry was struggling with.
Yeah, definitely. And so basically, so far we've looked at the people who are actually more doing the live events, but Joel represents a bit of a different industry. And this is not just about your business, but I think more for your industry, for photographers and videographers. So what happened, Joel?
I think the two, Derrick and Joan has pretty much said it, which is a lot of things started drying up. Actually, now that after they said, I really realized that a lot of, at least in the Singapore context, a lot of video work and photo work revolves around events, actually. I wouldn't say 100%, obviously, but I think more than 50%, because even if I look back at my own things, I mean, of course, when I was still chasing gigs and all that is before COVID hit, right? More than 50% of the inquiries and jobs that landed more or less were tied to events. They could be live events, they could be pre-recorded forms of events, this event, that event. So when events dried up suddenly, there were similarly, to what Joan experienced, there were a lot of cancellations. I said, we have to hold, we have to this, that, and the other, and then things just don't pan out altogether. And that was the same for video gigs and photo gigs. It's similar, because I suddenly remember the year before, I still remember I actually did a Sentosa 1,000 people beach party event. That was, that was something that paid well. That was a big thing, and people were like rejoicing and all. And last year I was supposed to, had COVID not hit, I was supposed to have gone to Da Nang to do the Moto 1 GP. event coverage as well, right? I mean, those are big projects, and as the COVID hit, obviously everything just came to a standstill. Everything got cancelled, and I think suddenly a lot of uncertainty just came, because suddenly, like, all the projects that were like lined up for the next few months, suddenly, if you really looked at it, if I really looked at it, it was not going to happen. And people are like, whoa, so, what am I going to do? Am I going to like eat air? Is it? So there was that worry.
So it seems like, I mean, there's no surprise to anyone that a lot of industries got disrupted. But let's talk a little bit about the human side of things. Like, how did it feel? Because the three of you are not new to business, as in you're kind of seasoned in what you are doing already. What was the emotion like? Is it necessarily fear, or what? Did you feel fear, or were there other emotions as well? Anyone can jump in.
You mean how we felt, or how did the industry feel?
Yes. I think it's more like for you personally. Like, how did you experience it? Was it panic? Was it fear? What was it like?
I think for me, it was exciting, actually. I mean, obviously, there was also the element of like, whoa, things are suddenly all up in the air and I don't know what's going to happen. But for me, it was exciting, because then that also meant that, because I kind of believe that, things just happen. Things happen, but then they also pan out. And often in ways that surprise us. Life goes on, and we are all fighters, right? So I was kind of waiting for new things to happen. So I would say I was excited and uncertain at the same time, obviously. Yeah, that at the frontal stage when things first hit.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Well, I guess on my end, I wasn't excited when it happened.
Yeah.
We were okay. So back then, I think we were working on actually one of our biggest events that would have happened in Macau, and I think after planning for the event for 6 months, and 10 days before we were supposed to fly over, right, we got the cancellation. My whole team was crushed, like literally crushed. Like after all that work, you just couldn't see it through anymore. Yeah. So I think after that emotion settled in, everybody became a little lost, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, suddenly when you thought that all your plans were stable, everything was fixed, and something just rocked your world just like this, just like that. And then after that, it's like, okay, so what's next?
But how did you deal with the emotion? Because quite a lot of the people who are watching, I mean, I kind of know some of you, and I think for many people, running business is very scary. And what you are describing now, where to have projects like really fall flat on your face, what did you do to cope, Joan?
Okay, I think in a way we were a little blessed, because like I was actually thinking back about what we did right back then, and I think there were certain I would say practices that we did that actually gave us a safety net during that period of uncertainty. So I would say that actually back then we had a very healthy cash flow. Yeah. And we had emergency funds, Yeah. So I guess when the crisis kicked in, we had this safety net for that few months to at least reorganize ourselves internally, replan what's our next step. And it did help that we were a small team. We are a small team. So we could actually react faster, adapt faster also. Yeah, and also like I think back then 70% of my core business was actually live physical events, but there was also like a 30% that was all the miscellaneous items. Yeah, so I guess it was because we had a different set of services also that helped us to survive also. So right now it's like the 30% becomes the highlight now.
The majority. So in fact, for the people who are taking notes, because I know some people are like ready with your notepad and stuff, I think one of the important things that Joan has just shared is this concept of a variety of types of events. And I think also is that realization that it gives you a bit of that flexibility and don't just do like the live stuff. Then how about Derrick? Okay, so I think Joan mentioned something about the team. And as a business owner, sometimes it's not just managing your own emotions and your own reactions, but if you are feeling buoyant, but then the rest of your team like getting depressed and stuff, like did you have to deal with that, and what did you do?
But actually, my story actually very similar to Joan. Actually, I think I was depressed. I was really depressed because all of a sudden, we were rehearsing, we're planning for rehearsals. We have already did the deposit down. Money has been spent, stuff like that. And I remember having to make the very tough call as a producer, as a boss, right? To say, what do we do? Everyone's looking at you exactly like you said. So I said, okay, guys, we will go ahead with rehearsals for 2 weeks and then, record everything. And if need be, when we postpone the show, then we will, then we pick up the pieces again. But you're right. I think it's having that clarity as a leader to say, although you are uncertain yourself, to kind of take care of the people, to really, kind of be there for them. And so what we did was I decided that we should honor paying everybody, because that was what we have done, or the contract's been signed already, and have we not provided that for them, I can't imagine how they would be able to survive, during that period, because they have blocked the time out for us, and then we had to cancel all those stuff. So I think it's taking that responsibility as a leader. I think similar to Joan, because we work with a lot of freelancers, so the team is very lean in terms of overheads. And because of that, then, we I wouldn't say we have a lot of money, but we did have, we could manage the emergency, let's just say, with funding. So that was important, also taking care of the people, making sure that they're okay. And then just keeping and we kept in touch. So we were in the same WhatsApp group, giving them, updates, what the plan was, and then assuring them that, we will continue to come back and use them again when we restage the show, stuff like that. Yeah.
So I would expect that during this period, even if you work with a team of freelancers, actually the scope of work for them changed drastically during this period. And I can imagine those of you who are working with freelancers, so there's a group of people like Derrick works mostly with freelancers, but Joan, do you have full-time staff in your company?
Yes, I do have full-time staff. So it's a mixture, also very similar. We work with a lot of freelancers. We also collaborate with other agencies. So, for example, if I need a very sophisticated website done for an event, I will get somebody like a designer, a programmer to do it for me. I mean, at the end of the day, why do I want to load on my overheads when this can be easily outsourced to somebody else? Yeah, who has expertise to do it? Yeah.
So in fact, what I'm saying is that if you work with a lot of freelancers, it meant that you were able to offer something a little bit different to your clients. Because in order for business to continue, I was pretty certain that you had to change your offering. And do you think y'all can share like what were the ways in which you changed your offering? And also, how did your clients react to that? I mean, after all, you probably arranged something very different. So Joe, why don't you start? Like, did you have to offer something very different to your clients?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because actually, I just how I said, I was excited because one of the things that really came out of this was that I figured that it was an opportunity to actually fulfill on what I always felt had been right for my clients. I'm talking about the right clients. I'm not talking about clients in general. And what did I mean by that is that because as somebody who produces videos, I got to a point, because I've been doing it for about the past 8 years, right? I got to a point where I really feel that, especially in today's age, right, producing that one video, that one corporate video, that one branding video, even that one very fantastic looking ad with Mercedes cars and horses and planes and whatnot, it is very useless in the large scheme of things, because people don't watch one video and decide that they want to engage you. Don't even talk about buy from you. They don't decide they want to engage you from just looking at one fantastic video. That doesn't happen. That really doesn't happen most of the time for people. So I felt very lack of a better word, I felt very useless when I was producing that one video for 1 gig for people. I got very tired of doing event highlight videos, which, there are dime of a dozen of such requests, and to me, for me, how I then pivoted at that point was that I really looked at, hey, what do my clients really need? What they need is a video presence. What they really need is a long-term platform from which they are communicating, their value, how they're communicating community, they are educating their clients, they're educating the people
Wait, so
around.
Actually what I'm hearing is that the real value of the video thing is for people to have a sustained online presence. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
And so that's where I decided to pivot my entire offer to, which is to work with committed people, the right people on a long-term basis, so that I'm giving them a lot more value in helping them to build and grow a consistent video presence. That meant a lot of videos. That meant also a lot of exposure, long-term exposure for people that I work with.
Okay, so the thing is, what we're looking at is the pivoting. So that means,
Correct.
like, did you have to offer this to people who didn't normally do it, and how do people react?
Yes. Yeah. So yes, I did have to. It was a pretty new thing even in my industry as well, lah. And how did people react was that actually, at first I was afraid that they would be like turned off by the cost or turned off by the commitment. But surprisingly, how the sensible people reacted in a very favorable way. And in fact, they became my long-term clients in a sense that they begin to see like, yes, actually, doing one video doesn't do anything. And if I was to always look at it as one video production at a time, it will cost me a lot. So then what is the long-term plan here? Do I need somebody who knows what they're doing to manage not just the production, but also the population of the video? So then when it made sense to them, it was very easy for them to go like, yes, I'm committed. Let's make use of this pandemic and let's do something about it. Yeah.
But I can imagine for Joe, this was easy because I think when COVID happened, people there's a bit like the bo pian kind of feeling like now I have to do a lot of video. So this was quite clearly an opportunity for Joe. But yes, and I see that Kevin is now saying that the right audience will come and stay. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, but how about the events people? I mean, definitely for both Derrick and Joan, you had to do and propose very different projects to your clients. I know for a fact that Derrick actually went and pitched some of these ideas about putting online events to some of the larger companies. And is it okay for you to share, like, what was the reaction like?
Yeah, so what we realized was actually COVID has helped even out the playing field. And, all of a sudden, everyone, can rise, and so long as you tick the right boxes. And like you said, right, how can we continue engaging people? And how can we continue to reach out to people? Because people still need entertainment. People still need hope and inspiration and stuff like that. So we knew for a fact that hospitality was also going to be a big hit because of the pandemic. And it was great because now they are open and they're desperate for things. So we were very fortunate to be working or having contacts and inroads and opportunity to work with Raffles Hotel Singapore. And they were looking to engage their staycationers, but also people at large, and also the people overseas, because they cannot now come to Raffles, so they want to reach out to them. So what we did was we created a kind of mystery, whodunit kind of interactive play set in the Raffles Hotel, almost like your Agatha Christie, the Murder on the Orient Express, that kind of show.
Okay, wait. So just for the sake of the audience, right? Because it's very hard for a lot of people to imagine what it'd be like. What's this escape room thing on? Is it filmed in the hotel, and how does it look like on the screen?
Yeah, so we filmed it in the hotel, so it's almost like a little story, a mystery happening, right? And then what we did was we produced kind of like a virtual map of Raffles Hotel, and you get to click at different spaces, and and you can click into any space you want in the location of the hotel, and we bring you to the actual space of the hotel in a 360 environment, and in that space the story unfolds. So you get to follow different characters, get to see how the story unfolds, and at the end of the whole experience, decide who did it, who stole the missing treasure. So in that sense, because it's interactive, because it's online and virtual, we could reach the whole world. Raffles could reach out to their entire tourists, in their guests in anywhere in the world. But more importantly, what I want to talk about is that it is so important to understand how to engage an audience, because if not, nowadays it's so easy. It takes 1 second for an audience to click out. There's so much noise online. So for us, I think the challenge was, how do we, craft a story that's engaging? How can we create and have elements and that can get them to be immersed and interact, so that there are stakes involved? So when they have the stake involved in the game or in the show, then they will stay throughout, they will stay engaged. So those are the things that we were considering. Yeah.
So the people who are writing notes, write down the word interactivity. So this is real world success stories, tips that these guys are giving you. And how about Jonah? I mean, if the events were mostly traditionally live, and then you have to fly in all the people, so now what new thing did you propose, and how did they react?
Well, I guess like you said, yeah, we were doing a lot of flying that time. Honestly, like like for example, I have clients that always bring their distributors or their top clients to like exotic places. We have a 3-day 2-night incentive trip. We will have a business conference there, and then followed by a cocktail party. Something exotic. So when COVID struck, it's like, hello, my passport is completely useless now. So like for example, right now I cannot even bring them for a cocktail party. So what we actually did recently was we actually brought the party to them. Okay, so this group was Asia Pacific group, so we had everybody in different cities, right? So we ran a virtual cocktail masterclass. There was some logistic involved. Okay, so we got a bartender to actually come up with a suitable recipe with the COVID theme. Like it was like a glow up, something like that. Yeah. So we put the different ingredients together. We work with local partners, to literally go to the supermarket, go and look for every single ingredient on my list, like your lime juice lah, your whiskey lah, everything. Put it, pack it into a nice package and then hand deliver to the end client, to the end customer. Then when the event day rolled about, we did a virtual thing on Zoom. So everybody was like, doing the shaker thing all together. So it was in a way still engaging, still fun, and they could still bond. That was the most important thing. Yeah. So that was the kind of like experience that we had to still deliver, but it's just a different way of delivering it. Yeah.
Yeah. So people taking notes is activity. Bring the activity to the client, even if the client cannot come to the activity. I thought that was brilliant. And I think Joan also brought out a very important point, which is this is a human connection. I think it's the one thing that is very missing when you are looking at the bloody screen like every day, right? So it's I think what are some of the tips that you have found, and all three of you can respond, like what are some of the tips that if we are doing a lot of online events, how to get people to interact, to bond? What are some of the themes that you can share with our audience?
I think one of the things is that the gamification experience, and I'm speaking about this also related to Derrick because actually I do work with Derrick for the virtual escape rooms and virtual interactive experience as well, which is to gamify and engage and have the audience feel like they are part of the experience, right? Instead of just looking, because traditionally as people watch whatever is going on screens, I'm talking photos, videos, and whatsoever not, people always feel like they are passively watching something. But when they get to feel like they are part of making something happen, and I think that also applies for Joan's, those online events as well. When they feel like they can be part of something that is that connection that is not physical but feels physical, like they still feel connected to the world and other people around them. I think that's where the magic lies.
Yeah.
I think maybe if I were to add on to what Joel just shared, I think also maybe to look at your end target audience and what is the kind of information that they want when they go to an event. Okay, say for example, if it's a regular business conference, right? I go there not just to learn from industry experts. So if that's the case, I will look at the lineup of my speakers. What can they share? What can I take away? What can I learn from that? It will be the content that is king then, right? And if I'm also an attendee, I want to go there for networking. So this is actually something very challenging that has shown up. I mean, how do I network? Yes, I can go into a Zoom, but in Asian context, people still like the shake hand and I pass you name card, kind of exchange. So I mean, yes, we have thought about ways on how to overcome that, you see, but I think Asian being Asians, it still take a while to warm up. Yeah. Then, of course, there is the end consumers kind, the B2C kind that they want a little lively one, so the gamification helps a lot. Yeah.
So playing small games at these events, that's very interesting. Yeah. And Derrick, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so on top of those points, I think one of the things that we realize also that work really well is two things. One, like you said, human connection, and having some sort of live element to it. So whether like what Joan said, you bring something, you send something to their home, everybody do together as a collective, or like what we have done, and which we're going to continue doing in our upcoming, experiences, is we created, say, or whether we use like a live chat room like Telegram channel, or we have a live chat room where people actually engage and play the game and comment at the same time, kind of like creating a shared experience. I think that's something that people lack. that whole communal experience. That's the first one. And the second thing that we did was to always create this something I call choose your own adventure in all our experiences, whereby we give the power and we put the power in people's hands to choose how they want to navigate and how they want to go through their experience. So I think that really worked, and that really increased a lot of engagement. So these are the two things that I found work a lot for us.
Yeah, and I've been dying to ask this question all night, which is, so far the three of you are people who have kind of, to a large extent, been able to sort of pivot your business. But I think it's also safe to say that in all three of your industries, quite a lot of people are still struggling, in the sense that they still struggle to get events, they get gigs. So what are some of the challenges that you've seen in your industry so far, and why do you think that they still have this problem there? And anyone can jump in. Yeah, is it like, how's the theatre industry doing? Like,
I'll jump in here and answer your question with an analogy. And I think this analogy everyone knows, which is, very apt. You're drinking now, so we see your glass half filled or half empty, right? And I think, as much as we always say that change is the only constant in life, the truth is change is painful. And but yet at the same time, like a lot of things, there are always two ways to seeing things, right? Whether it's half filled or half empty. And so instead of being negative about it, complaining and just wondering when this would go, and being in that state of limbo, instead of thinking and going like the what if, why not look at what is possible and look at what can be done in this new normal, or in your terms the air era, right? And like I said, COVID has really leveled and evened out the playing field, so that, and it's no longer just the big boys and the MNCs anymore. Small players like you and I can actually rise and thrive if we are able to serve people, find out what problems there are, find out what needs there are, and go and solve those problems. We have the fighting chance, and because everyone is almost like a reset, we are able to have that first mover advantage. And
actually, I have a very controversial question to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you agree that maybe the small players have an advantage in this pivot game? What do you think?
Totally. I mean, we are lean, we have lesser overheads, we have lesser packages, we have all of that. But that said, I also worked with, and also somehow we seem to think that the younger folks tend to have it easier because maybe of mindset or being fresh and new to this, and maybe they are in the digital generation anyway, and we seem to think that the old fogies are the one that are not moving. But that said, I have worked with people in their 50s and being very open to their, and being honest also that I don't know how this works, but I'm very open to trying. So I think it's all here. It's really about just the mindset. And when this shift, right, I think you see things in a whole new perspective, in a whole new world.
Yeah, if I could also just capitalize on what Derrick has just shared, right? I kind of think that, yes, I do acknowledge that this current situation is unpredictable. There's a lot of uncertainties. But with that, there's also a lot of possibilities. As long as you remain open, there's a lot of possibilities and also opportunities. In fact, actually, if you think about it, COVID has actually unknowingly created an environment, right, that supports innovation and creativity. Yeah, and to be honest, if you cannot fix what's already broken, why not, innovate and try something new, right? I mean, if plan A doesn't work anymore, then what's your plan B? Moving forward. Yeah.
I totally get that, because I think one of the things I've so often heard from at least my industry, is that they are hoping for COVID-19 to end, hoping for the pandemic to end so that things can go back to normal, right? I hear that all the time from, other video guys, photo guys. They're like, oh, don't worry, COVID will end one, then all the events will come back, don't worry. I say, yeah, by the time maybe you die already, right, from hunger. I think to really add on to what Derrick and Joan said, right, I actually have this saying that just popped into my head, which is called, don't just fulfill a need, but create a need. So what I mean by that is, at least I think it's specific to my industry, is that there's this thing that I call gig chasing. That means because of the reduced demand, people are unsure and all like that. Suddenly there are lesser gigs on the market. And then you see as a reactionary kind of thing, right? A lot of video guys and photo guys start to lower their price, try to, grab at straws and, even accept like $100 jobs just to help people to set up a webinar, which by the way, you can set up your own webinar without hiring any guy, like seriously, right? I mean, so many tools out there nowadays, right? So they're grasping at straws there, right? Now, so instead of trying to vie for these jobs, right? What I would say is to create a need, like really come from, at least I can only speak for myself here, but really come from like, what do people really need? Do they really need just that one video done, or what do they really need? What is the thing that drives them to even think about, hey, I should create a video? Like, okay, before you go and create a video, why do you want that video? Right? And then address that need, create a bigger need for them, and then actually enroll them on actually, fulfilling that need at the root, at the base, at the root, rather than so-called doing that one video in that sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, for all of you who are watching to this, right, please let us know, like, what industries are you guys in? Like, just go on the comments and let us know what you do, and are you having challenges? What have you experienced, the difficulties in pivoting it online, so that we can definitely, make our sharing a lot more relevant to you. Right? So let us know in the comments. So in the meantime, I also want to ask, like, the online space is really saturated right now. In fact, I was just talking with Derrick just now about how it's very common. You go online on Facebook, you scroll and you see like everybody's doing a Facebook Live, and people who don't normally post are like everyday posting. So in a sense, it used to be like there were certain industries that were a little bit more saturated. Like, say if you do like property, insurance, those are the ones that you normally see a lot of like that competition. But now it seems like even you sell background, so everybody is like trying to put it online. So I think the biggest issue here is for a lot of people is like the little bit of effort that you put into online creating content can sometimes be just lost in that noise that is there. And in fact, all three of you have careers that are very revolve around marketing and getting attention for an offering, in that sense. What do you all see as crucial themes that need to be in place for people to stand out in this market? Anyone?
I think at least for the events part, it's really human connection. In the world now where there's physical human connection is almost impossible, how do I then connect across a screen like that? Is it by some form of interaction? Is it by content, or is it by even, very good copywriting? Yeah. So I think at the end of the day, it ties back to the audience. What do you think the audience is looking at? And also, what kind of message do you want to send across? Then you look for that appropriate platform to deliver it. Yeah.
So what you're talking about is targeting. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yep. So guys, I hope those of you writing notes, targeting is very important. So would you agree that this space is not about target like every person that you can get? And so what are some of the tips that y'all can give with regard to like narrowing that targeting?
So this is all marketing now, right? So
I mean, you can come in with whichever. I think I actually get this question a lot right now also, because I've been calling for the last 2 years. I've been calling for people to really build a presence online. And a lot of people just tell me that I try, but in my industry, like there's like 1 million people posting. So then, my dollar for bang for buck are not there,
Yeah. I'm going to jump in first, right? I think from the video branding side of things, 2 keywords is authenticity and consistency. Authenticity as in having the courage to really put your face out there, yourself out there, to put your person out there, to communicate with your audience, your clients, with the communities that you want to impact, right? As a person. I'm saying that ads like those that you see like I don't know, your Nike, Adidas, your Rolexes and stuff like that, ads without a human face, somebody talking to you without a human connection, those are going to do worse and worse, because people now really want to connect with another person. And that's also, by the way, how you reach out to your target audience. I mean, let's face it, 90% of the world don't care. I mean, I'm just being very cynical here, right? But 90% of the world don't care about what you do. And then there's another about maybe, I don't know, 5% that don't like what you do. And then there's that very little percent, right, that you should care about, maybe about 5% or less. My math's not so good, so don't go and count all these numbers together. But the last remaining percents are the people who want to hear from you, they appreciate you, and they actually want to do something with you. And if you don't put your authentic self out there, and if you're not consistent about it, they just have no chance to even know that you exist and connect with you. So I think for me, at least on the video branding side, these are the two biggest things: authenticity and consistency.
Yep. And Derrick, you were going to say something?
Yeah, so adding on to all of that, the great points, I think it goes also back to your mission and the why you do what you do. I think that's the foundation and the fundamental of why we all are doing business or why we are all doing what we're doing. It really goes back to that purpose, you see. And with that leads to what we talked about earlier also. What problems are we solving? Because if we don't know what problems we're solving, we're just going to add noise, online, and we're just going Facebook Live and the phone and everything else, but it's just adding noise. So until we know what problems we're solving, that could answer then who our target audience are, because then we know we are serving a specific target audience, right? And from there, then like what Joan said, we craft our message to suit that audience. Because if our message to market don't match, you can put all the message out there, you can put all the Facebook Live out there, your market is not going to bite. Then it's just going to be noise again, right? So when that matches, then there is now a conversation that we can talk about. There could be a sale happening or whatever later on. So I think just going back to the fundamentals of the mission and purpose, why we do what we do, what problems are we solving, and who are we serving? And when we tick all these three boxes, then our message to market will match.
Yeah, and I think these are very good points. I cannot help myself. I want to add something. Because, in the webinars, I've also talked about how, if you think about in the olden days, right, if you want to create hype for something, you go Orchard Road and you walk around, you see the banners. But when you put a banner on Orchard Road, it's essentially targeting everybody and everybody, right? Because they walk past 1,000 people or past, it's like there's no differentiation as to gender or interest or anything like that. But I think when it's online and you don't actually get to meet people face to face, that means the only way you can connect with somebody is through some kind of metric. That means you have to be a member of some Facebook page, or you have to be of some metric. And I think it's what a pity when a lot of the advertising or the way of presentation for a lot of businesses are not making use of that metric, because actually it's the only way to connect with people nowadays also. It's a bit sad that now we are all down to like a profile on the internet, but it'd be quite lame if it's not being used in that purpose. Yeah, that's brilliant. I actually see that there are some traits I see here, like there are people who are actually in marketing here. So maybe we are just sharing, and actually the real experts are here. Yeah, but thanks Mark for sharing. You probably a bigger expert than all four of us combined. Yeah, and he's talking about thinking about marketing beyond Singapore, and I think that's the other thing that we can add on also, because now it costs almost nothing, or at least marginally, it doesn't cost more to market outside of Singapore than just here alone. And in fact, I want to target this to Derrick. I mean, it's most of the theatre productions that were done in the past. Was it true that the target market was mostly Singapore? And how has going online changed the target marketing?
Well, absolutely, because we rent theaters, we have to fill the houses, right? And obviously, it's only people that are in Singapore, whether it's Singaporeans or tourists or PRs or whatever, but it's in Singapore, right? And all of a sudden, now that we do our productions online and virtual, we could take it to the whole world. And because we ask ourselves again, what problems are we solving? Who can we help? So if we're partnering with hospitality, we're looking at promoting Singapore, then there are fundings available and there are help available. So for example, because of this Raffles project, STB came on board and they say, hey, let us help you market to our international offices overseas. And because we tick those boxes, we can go global in that sense. And then when we look at our sales figures, it's no longer just in locally in Singapore, but we can sell by volume. And that is the beauty of taking your projects digital or virtual, at least for my industry or my projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And Joe, did you have anything to add to that? Like in terms of how has this changed the kind of targeting that your clients have made with their video? Did the videos used to target like only Singapore, and has that changed?
Okay,
Wait,
I
talking
think
to
for
me
this,
or Joan?
Well, either one of you can answer really. I
Joanna, you
I
go
was
first,
going
Joel.
for Joel. Yeah,
Oh, for me, is it?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But both of you can answer this perfectly
Yeah.
fine.
Double
Yeah.
J.
Okay. Yeah. I think one of the things is because I actually, as a what I call myself a chief video officer, what I help people to build is their YouTube presence. Now, YouTube is an international platform. Actually, as much as YouTube has Singapore viewers and also viewers from all around the world, a lot of its viewers are actually from the US. Actually, quite a major percentage, lah, right? So by putting anything on YouTube and obviously, putting it tagging it with proper description keywords and doing some very basic tending to making sure that people actually see your content. Actually that content is really automatically goes out to people worldwide, viewers worldwide already. And I think how it has affected my clients also is that they've begun to think from things that are think from presenting topics, right? Or talking about things that are relevant to people wherever you are in the world. So instead of just only really just keeping it to the Singapore context, keeping it to like local, even in their own speaking, right, they became a lot more international, if that makes sense, as in they use better English sometimes. In that sense, yeah. But I think also, I mean, apart from the speaking, because it's just surface based, I think it's also the content that they put out. They begin to think from something that is a lot more wide and much more impactful as well. Yeah.
I think that's a very good tip. So for the people who are watching this and you are thinking about having some kind of video or like an outreach strategy, I think it's important to just go ahead and just aim for the world already, because you're not just limited by Singapore. Yeah. And Joan, you're going to share something?
Oh no, I also wanted to check, like, I think it's also sometimes it's also the format of how you structure the entire like webinar series or what. Like you said, it's like there's 1,000 webinars out there, right? So like even my clients come to me and how do I actually get a cut of the market? That kind of thing. So like in this virtual world, I think everyone is experiencing Zoom fatigue, to be very honest. You wake up and from 9 a.m. onwards is back-to-back Zoom sessions all the way until the end of the day, you see. So like some of my friends who are also in the corporate world, right? So they are like, oh my God, I've got so many Zoom. I'm so tired of attending a Zoom session. So for us is then, how do then I make you choose my Zoom session over the rest? Yeah. So could it be a shorter version, a shorter delivery? Or could it be like, once you check in, you get a private session with like a really well-known speaker, something like that. So what is the incentive that you get when you come to my session instead of all the rest of them?
Yeah. So these are some of the she shared some very, very good tips about how to make your Zoom session different from other people. Yeah, brilliant. And in fact, I was just talking with some people recently, just a few months ago, before Singapore went into like mini lockdown again, right? And some people are saying that, okay, it seems like we are going back to normal. And we keep hearing that phrase, back to normal. And I don't think we are kidding ourselves that eventually we will go back to some level of normalcy. It's just a matter of when now, which is why the people want to know when, please come to my webinar, yeah. But the thing is, if we say that at some point we will go back to normal, which means for Derrick's industry, at some point people will be allowed back in the theaters again, and for Joan, like people can fly around and attend events. But if this occurs, what do you think will change with this 2-3 year period when everybody is like locked up? What are some of the new things that we've seen in the past 1 year that you honestly feel is going to be permanent from now on? What are the changes that you feel won't go back already?
Well, I think for once, the virtual and digital world is here to stay. It's not just going to stay, it's going to expand.
Yep.
People will expect.
Can you say more like
more.
what do you mean by expand?
Like I guess right now it's just a webinar. So it can't be just a webinar for the next 5 years, right? So how do I actually innovate and improve to become more than a webinar? You see, could it be like a bombastic platform? Could I have a holographic human figure, transported into my room talking to me, like it's a real person talking to me? Technology will get more and more amazing in that sense, right? I mean, one day, I don't know, even event and theater works will come together, something like that, you see. And the thing is that I think people are so used to this work from home, this virtual world now. Then next round, what is my incentive to actually travel 10 hours, fly to a conference, just to shake somebody's hand, you see? Yeah, so that will be the considerations already, you see. I'm not saying the events will not come back. It will come back, but it will not be the same. I mean, just be
So
very realistic
would it
about
be
that.
safe to say that even if we go back to normalcy, it is your opinion that the amount of that flying for conferences and trade events and stuff is just going to reduce to a point where it will just not even come anywhere near back to the normal, like before COVID?
No, it won't. Like say for example, right, if I got a client that used to have 3 big events a year, you see, I guess they could cut down to just 1 big event a year and everything else can be done virtually. You see, if I don't have to spend as much money to secure venues, to pay for hospitality, to pay for flight tickets, right, then I could use that amount of money and resources into creating even better content, for my attendees, right? Yeah, then that would be the real value of where my, conferences would be then. Yeah.
So okay, I want to follow up because I just cannot help myself. Then how about what if there are vendors who build those cubicles, those stands in the exhibition hall, and also with the people, there's a whole industry for booking air tickets for people who are going for events and stuff. Like if I'm sure you know of such people in your course of work as well. I mean, what are some of the things that should really be on their minds, given the fact that this situation might be permanent? Like, what do you think? If I was in the industry, like, what should I really be planning for?
I guess I would want to plan on really how do I take my business online already. Yeah. Like for example, right, say if my company used to do backdrops, setups for events, right? Wooden setups, wooden backdrops and all for events. So right now, I'm sorry, but there's no wooden backdrops to be done anymore, right? So then in that case, could I then, yes, I'm very good at designing a setup. Could I then help an online event design their virtual setup then? Yeah. So it's not like you're shifting completely away. It's just leveling up. I would like to say that leveling up your business. Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that they will close down. It's just changing the way they do it, right?
Yes, and it's how you change it. Yeah.
Derrick, you're saying?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. So giving a very real life case example, right? So in theatre, we work with set designers and set constructors also. So I do know that our set construction company has also now evolved into to kind of changing one of their warehouse into a studio. So now they're transforming the space, instead of now constructing the sets and stuff, which they are not anymore, to construct a studio and also support with set dressing if need be, because sometimes in film studio or whatever you need set dressing or set props and stuff. So they have actually evolved in that, and I think that has actually now been their main core business rather than building wooden backdrops, because we are the thing in the past now. Yeah.
So
I think also to add.
Yeah.
I think also to add on to what Derrick was saying, it brings me back to this documentary that I saw on how The Mandalorian was produced. The Mandalorian, which is I think on Disney Plus, right?
The Star Wars one, right?
Yeah, the Star Wars one. It was. I mean, if you haven't watched the documentary, you totally should. But just to really sum it up, right? It was done during the COVID period with a very skeleton crew within one studio, and they made it look like that guy went through multiple planets, multiple sets, multiple designs. But no, it was just one guy doing very excellent acting. With his helmet on all the time, so you can't see his face, so it didn't need the face to be any spectacular kind of face acting. But then the whole set was actually virtual. The whole thing was animated, and it was adjusted according to where the actor was facing, where the action was happening, all like that. Now, of course, it may sound very high tech now, but I think what I'm pointing to here is that I think one of the things that also will, going forward into even when normalcy comes back, you will see leaner crews, leaner setups with a lot more technology deployed. Yes, because I think technology is something that, because of COVID, has developed very, very rapidly. Automations and all like that in especially in the entertainment industry as well. So I think that is one of the things that is here to stay. Leaner crews, higher technology.
Yeah. So everyone's getting that. Their teams are getting smaller and smaller. And Derrick, looks like you're going to say something.
Yeah, I just want to add stuff that maybe is practical for, say, the audience who are listening, who may not be in our space, our theatre or event space or film space, right? Because I think what you asked, you were asking, what do we think that will be permanent, or what some behavior that
won't change back already.
Right. So the first thing I noticed is this constant use of mobile devices, and everyone is now on their phones or a mobile device. So if you are in an industry or you're thinking of something to create or product or whatever or service whatever, you want to start thinking of how you can write on the behavioral patterns of people being stuck to this thing. That's the first that's the first thing. The second thing that I noticed is incorporating tech into real life. So it's not just technology for technology's sake, but in say events or in theater, I think that moving forward there will still be a hybrid model, but how can we now incorporate tech into real life? And COVID has trained Singaporeans to scan a QR code whenever we see a QR code. So maybe going with that trend, right? In the past, nobody knows how to scan QR code. Now everybody knows how to scan QR code. So going with that trend, how can we then, go along that direction and incorporate, say a QR code in what you're doing? So I give you a very quick example. In Raffles Hotel, we also did a treasure hunt. And the hotel was like, oh, we don't want our guests to download apps and complicated stuff. I said, no worries. Everybody know how to scan QR code. Let's just scan QR code to find things, to hunt for things, whatever. So that's the second thing. The third thing that I think that will stay and that's permanent is the idea of collaboration and community. And that is what I've been seeing in my projects in this whole collaborating space. So I collaborate with Joel a lot. I collaborate with a lot of other not smaller players, but freelancers, right? And together we have created a lot more amazing things, and we begin to grow the community. So I think these are all very in line with your Air Era talk that you will obviously share in your webinar, but that is something that I see it happening in my business, and I think it's going to be permanent and here to stay. Yeah. So
it's going to be like projects and people sort of come in for the duration of the project. After that, they kind of move on with their lives, right? This is the norm now. And which is why in the webinars, I sort of try to prepare everyone as far as possible that the world is moving away from this fixed salary kind of environment. Of course, to a large extent, there's still going to be a certain number of people who do need to be in a constant fixed salary kind of thing. But by and large, we're going to see the proportion of people in this kind of like fluid kind of movement a lot easier. So in fact, can I also ask my three guests, right? Have you also noticed in the past 1 to 2 years, are expenses lower and consequently are also project sums on the lower side, mainly because the cost is lower? Has this occurred in your industry? For Joan, I mean, usually normal events can be quite costly because of all the printing and all the physical stuff. Now that it is online, so I'm not saying that I'm not suggesting that you lower your price because of their perceived value, but are the costs lower and therefore you are able to offer your expertise in a more affordable or bite-sized way to the clients?
I would say the costs are lower because we have lesser overheads, I would say.
Yes.
You see, like maybe I don't need a very big office space now. I don't really need a very big team now, things like that. But I wouldn't say that projects we were earning lesser. I wouldn't say that, to be very honest.
I don't mean profit. I don't mean profit is lower. In fact, I would. Okay, so I think I will rephrase. Like, is it actually possible for clients to pay less, but somehow your profits are the same or even more? Would that be accurate? Yeah.
Yes, correct. Because to be honest, I mean, if you think about it, we used to plan an event at an actual venue, but right now the venue is my virtual platform. So it's the same thing. How do I set up that virtual platform to look as beautiful and as sophisticated as it is in a real life setting? And I think it's even harder to impress in a virtual setting because in an actual live event, I can walk around and feel the atmosphere. But over here is, oh my god, I'm just looking at this 11-inch screen and and that's it.
Yeah.
The
level of expertise is even higher. Yeah. Sorry, Joel.
Yeah, so I said I thought I was just going to be a little more controversial here and actually say, because I think that's a very good point here, is that I think what has moved, especially in the last 2 years, is that clients are going to pay lesser for video productions because they now realize that, for example, say I'm just going to name them out straight in MediaCorp, right? It used to be, I mean, it's just a joke. I'm not saying that it's true for every production, but there's this long-standing joke amongst our industry that, you know, you hire MediaCorp, you're paying for every manpower, including the person who is there just to hold the C-stand. C-stand being, you know, the light stand and whatnot. They're not doing anything, okay, just holding the stand. You're also paying for that guy. And that's why you pay a lot, sometimes in the 5-6 figures, to produce one ad or one commercial, right? And that I think we kind of see that that kind of thinking, that kind of model has diminished a lot, and people are starting to wake up to, like, I don't need a whole gym gang of 50 people shooting whatever I want to shoot. I just need one specialist, or that one specialist with a very small team that can fulfill what I need. You get what I mean? So in that sense, so clients do actually pay less and get more value. And the people who are the specialists who are putting their skills forward, right? They actually, I would say, in all fairness, earn more in that sense, because they're being paid truly for what they bring to the table rather than, well, holding the C-stand.
Yeah, I think that they're paying less for the physical presence and for the physical work that is being done, but more, in fact, the proportion of costs or resources that go towards expertise will have gone up more. And is this something you experience, Derrick, as well in your industry?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I also want to then point our attention to also to the people watching this live. Very quiet in the group chat, but I think people are watching. Which is that I think that a lot of people sometimes worry that digital costs a lot of money, right? Or the idea that now all of a sudden you go digital, people buy one ticket last time in the theater, you one ticket for one person. Now one you buy one ticket, now 5 people can watch, or how many people can watch and stuff like that, right? But I think with going digital, we've definitely seen our costs going down. Because like what Joan said, overheads is down, but also like we don't have to rent for physical spaces and everything else. Of course, there are other additional costs involved, but in the whole grand scheme of things, the expenditure has gone down, and the potential profits has actually opened up, because like we said, it goes worldwide. At least for the theater space or selling tickets wise. So in that sense, the sustainability, the longevity, and also the growth, the possibility for growth is there. Because for events and theater, is that after that 3-week run or an event one night, for example, we trash everything down and that's it. And if we want to restage everything, we build everything up again. So the cost is a lot. And then talking about climate change, talking about wastage and everything that's very high and stuff like that. So I think that these are the merits of really going virtual and digital.
Actually, would you also say something occurred to me is that actually the risk of doing business has gone down?
For sure.
Would this be accurate, like for all 3 of you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I think in the past, if you want to do something, you kind of need to have X dollars first. You have to raise the funds or the resources in order to even have the setup. Like no setup, don't even talk. But now the setup is a lot less, and I think more fluid, right? So that means if we use this or we need it, then we pay, or if we don't need it, then we don't have to pay. Is that what your experience also?
Yeah, or we collaborate, because this is a collaborating space now, right? So like how we first started, so we knew we needed tech. And as a theater company, or like Joan, I would think as a physical events producer, we don't know how to program stuff. So what we did was we worked with a tech company to collaborate and say, hey, what if we come together and build something together? And of course, the business dealings, we have to sort those out. But what if we collaborate? And that's what we did for our first project or second project. And then we learned about it, and then we grow, and then, and then we expand. Yeah.
It's a lot more different than what I think in the past. It's like you really don't have X dollars, really cannot get into things at all. Yeah, so I guess, so what are you most looking forward to, or what are some of the 3 of you have any like predictions about how you think the events are going to go in the future? No, I honestly, actually, Joan already shared some things about how she thought like holograms or like that digital events are going to expand, or I think maybe let's talk about, say, in the next 1 to 2 years, going by the way COVID around the world is not exactly killing people in like a terrible pandemic, but it's just an inconvenience. It creates the unpredictability. What are some of the predictions. So my turn to build predictions will be on 19 June. And now we want to hear from these three people, okay? So what do you think is going to happen in your industry?
To be
Any ideas?
honest, I think people, at least from my industry, I would think that my potential attendees, right, they will be very concerned the moment, like, say, my boss asks me to attend an event. It's like, oh my God, I go to the event, I might possibly lose my life there, you know, that kind of thing. Like, you know, it has become life-threatening to attend a physical event, to be very honest, yeah. Yeah, so I think there would be this, you know, usually in the past, it's like, oh, you know, I get to go to an event, I get to fly to an exotic place, I get to have fun there. It was a very positive attitude. But I think right now it has become a very hesitant and very fearful attitude. Yeah.
So your prediction is that the live events is still like, it's just not going to be a popular thing, lah.
I wouldn't say it won't be a problem. I think you look at the different types of events. If it's a business event, right, I would triple think, you know, before I really think whether should I go, whether there's a need for me to even send my guys go. You know, if I were to send my leadership to an event, to be a speaker at the event, what if something happens to them? Then what happens to the company? You know, these are very real considerations that even right now, I think globally, a lot of MNCs do take this into place. If I send my staff over there, what happens if they contract COVID? There's a lot of liabilities involved already, you see.
Yeah, really, really good. Yeah, and how about Derrick? What do you think is going to happen?
So I think, okay, so I'm my industry is a little bit different and also very niche, I would think. But firstly, I predict that we will never ever go back to the future. Go back to the future. Go back to the,
Go back to the past. Back to the future. Back to the past.
Back to the future. Eh?
So in that sense, we will never ever see 1,000 people event or, you know, a group, the entire swarm of people, you know, in the theater. So we will do very well because with restricted seating, it will be always sold out for sure, right? But that's not what we want, and that we cannot survive honestly, and that's not sustainable, obviously. So what I think it will happen is there will be a hybrid model, and a hybrid of using, like I said again, technology with live roving kind of game or event or storytelling or a tour or hunt kind of thing. And I think this idea of a tour, a performing arts tour, is something that we are seeing a little bit more in Singapore right now. So we have like people like and so forth and other companies are doing this kind of, you know, interactive experiential kind of tour. And I think this also takes a lot of the young millennials, even our generation, who are looking for something different for a night out. So I think this kind of experiences will grow and will thrive. And small group self-guided tours. So that means it's in smaller groups now, it's no longer big groups, and using and merging art with tech, whether it's AR, you know, or VR stuff like that, or all the other R's lah. I think that is where the theater on the art scene is. Yeah.
Okay, so that's for the theater industry, a hybrid model. And Joel, what do you think?
I think in the video branding space and in the video space generally, like I think we've already started to see, you just open your YouTube, just open your Facebook Watch, you are seeing a lot of videos where people are putting their face, their message, their personality out there. And they don't, and sometimes they may just go at it. Sorry, they may just go at it at a very lifestyle angle. They're not there to sell you anything. They sometimes don't even remember to ask you to subscribe to the channel or whatever. Not. They're just really there to do some really authentic, genuine sharing that is true for them. In that sense, I think that is something we've seen more of. It will increase, and you will never go back to seeing all those very pointless corporate video ads like event highlights. In fact, if I'm so bold to make a prediction, I would say event highlight videos, and maybe even in the future, those kind of like very pointless, really for the sake of just branding and selling brand, those kind of videos will be long gone. People want to see people. I think that is the biggest thing that people should look forward to going forward in the next 2 years. People want to see people, and if your videos don't have a person, don't have a personality to it, forget it. People are not going to be interested. People don't want to watch it. So I think from the production standpoint and from the filming standpoint and from the producer standpoint, I think that is something that people need to really take note of and start jumping on the bandwagon before it gets flooded. It's really quite flooded. Before it gets even more flooded, people are already discovering what their unique thing is on video, and then you haven't even started. Then that's where you lose out lah. That's what I predict lah.
Yeah, so in fact, I think this is a really good way to sort of like wrap up our hour-long conversation, because Joel's now recommending that you really, if you're watching this and you're a business owner or you're thinking of starting a business, his big tip to you is infuse your personality into your offering. So I think my tip would be that, so Derrick and Joan, you prepare like a one thing that you like to recommend that they do. So his is personality. I think mine is more like go and think about how you can provide something to the community, so that instead of like trying to make money from like one gigantic MNC, but really start thinking about how can we make this relevant to like the regular guys out there. Because with the internet, it's actually, frankly, it's a lot easier to sort of connect to the guys on the ground than to the big MNC type people. And Derrick, do you have a tip for everyone?
I do not have a tip, but I have two quotes that I'd like to leave off with everyone. My favorite quote, and something I learned from a business mentor many years ago, which is so much wisdom and so much meaning to it. That is, you cannot use the methods of yesterday to compete in the economies of tomorrow. So I repeat, you cannot use the methods of yesterday to compete in the economies of tomorrow. And my second quote is, a lot of us sometimes worry a lot and we think, what if I fail? But I would challenge you to think, what if you fly?
Yeah. And Joan, do you have like a tip for everyone?
I think it's probably don't be afraid to contribute ideas. Don't think that you are giving people free advice, free ideas, things like that. You see, because I'll give you an example. Because like there was a couple of times when I just threw out ideas to my clients, without any intention of getting anything in return. It's just helping them. But then a couple of months later, they'll come back and, hey, Joan, remember the idea that you shared with me? Hey, I think we are ready to bring it forward. I discussed with my boss. Let's do it now. So it comes back as a very pleasant surprise. And I was like, oh, you mean you actually took me seriously? Yeah.
Sometimes it's just you just never know. And like we said, the cost of trying sometimes is so low nowadays. It just doesn't make sense to not try, Yeah, so I like to thank everybody for being here. I want to shamelessly plug my webinar, because what happens is all these guys have been very generous in sharing some of the tips in pivoting your business. But don't forget that actually sometimes it really helps to know what is coming up, because we all heard how disruptive COVID can be. And therefore, if you knew aggravation, like when things will happen or what are some of the trends that will start coming up, because we saw how quickly 2019, when we move into 2020, how everybody's the whole pivot, the whole angle has completely changed. And take my word for it, guys, in the upcoming years, 2021, we're already more than halfway through already. And in fact, what we are looking at, if I were to give everyone a tip, my tip is focus on 2022, right? And so I'll be giving everybody a good glimpse of what to expect in the next 18 months or so. And in fact, the three people who are here, they some of the changes that they started making were due in part to being warned beforehand. I've told Derrick Chew's story very often about how he was sort of like warned beforehand that some of his projects was going to sort of like get stalled, and that's why for him it was easy for him to maybe not easy, but at least when it actually occurred, the reaction time was faster. And was this the case, Derrick? Like, well, how did you've watched, I think, all my webinars, right? And what benefit you've been involved in, and you also have watched them. Like, how did it help you as a business owner?
I think the first thing is for everyone who's watching this to know that May is accurate and very accurate. So that's the first thing. We need to get over our heads, right? Because the truth is sometimes when things are not happening yet and you say something, and then I was like, okay, good to know, but is it true? Maybe not. Then we just test water, right? But now I'm like, okay, whatever timeline you give, let's just pay attention to it. So I think okay, but back to this, I think the first thing was clarity and a confidence to be able to plan and strategize my business, even in these uncertain times. because now I know, and also having studied astrology, understand, what is happening. So I think that was the most important for me, that clarity and the confidence to know and to be so assured that whatever happens in the world, I can still plan for my business. And that is very helpful.
It's for planning. And can I ask my husband? Because then my husband is actually around all the time, even as I'm preparing and as I have discoveries, I'll tell him, hey, I think 2022 is going to have this. So Joel, how has it really helped you, if it has?
I think is this phrase? I think if you see May's ads for the latest webinar, which is also in part filmed by me. One of the lines that I put in there is, being forewarned is being forearmed, right? And I think how it has really helped is, I think very similar to Derrick, is that we know that certain things, as you know that certain things, certain trends are going to happen, certain things are going to come up. How do I then pivot what I'm doing, and also pivot in terms of what I'm offering for my clients, right, to suit that. So I think for me, it is not so much about believing what my wife says or not, right? Because that is something that I think is if we only just look at whether I believe or not, right, it's a very useless conversation. But if I looked at it as May say something that is going to happen and it makes full logical sense, then how am I going to make sure that I don't get caught with my pants down when that thing actually happens? Because I mean, on one part also, if worse comes to worse, it didn't happen that way, but at least I am already forearmed. Got prepared better than not prepared, better than pants drop on the ground. So I think that's very important, being forearmed. Yeah.
And Joan, did they help you? Because actually you first got to know me through my webinars, right?
Yeah. And actually, I think it was quite interesting because I think back in January you had one of the webinars also, right? Yeah, it was quite interesting because I think after 2020, a lot of us came into 2021 very hopeful that things are going to get better. In fact, I started receiving a lot of requests to start sourcing for venues, looking at doing physical events the later half of this year, second half of this year. And then I remember, I think in your webinar, you mentioned something about, the second half of this year is going to be even worse, than before. So every time I had a live event proposal, a request that came in, I'll be like, are you sure you want to do it? It's not exactly completely recovered. It's still a gamble, Yeah, but then that's how we actually help them to eliminate, those options and kind of really narrow down the focus on actually, why not, if you really want 100% safe method, just go virtual, concentrate all your resources there and make the content a bombastic one. That's it. Yeah,
I absolutely agree. So if you're in any way dealing with business or you have important decisions to make, please don't miss my webinar. You'll see that we've very shamelessly put our link there already. So just click on it and please go and register. There is no charge for this webinar, and it's something that I started since 1.5 years ago, that every time I see that there are important things to be put out there, I will do a webinar, and I have done it for no charge. So and all my audience, when there's nothing happening, don't run webinars. So the thing is, if I schedule a webinar and I tell you to come and I tell you I got things to tell you and you really want to listen to this so that you can prepare, because guys, let me tell you, easy question, people ask me, when is this nonsense going to end, this roller coaster? It's not going to end so soon. If you've seen my ad, I already said that the tsunami comes in multiple waves, and I said we are at the half time. So guys, what does half time mean? It means that we're only halfway through this crazy roller coaster. So please come, and you really need to know what's going to come up in the second half of this tsunami story. So I'd like to thank my guests here, and maybe we just end off and just say I think for all four of you, for all three of you, you're actually looking to sort of Jeremy is on, and Jeremy is going to post where you can get in touch with these guys. And if you're very inspired by what they're sharing, or if there are some ways in which you feel like you want to get to not so much engage their services, but I think in the air era, it's more like this collaborative. If there are great ideas that you would like to share with each other, please do get in touch with them as well. Okay, so thank you to Joel, Joan, and Derrick. 谢谢你们. And so thanks to the audience. You all didn't really have a lot of questions for us, so we want to answer, also cannot. But please do share this little Facebook Live with some of your friends, especially if they are struggling or they need some ideas as to what they can do in this upcoming period. Okay, and also tell them to please come watch my webinar. Okay, so thank you very much and good night, guys. Okay, good night. Thank you.